Your knowledge of contract language is imperative.
You must know what a violation looks like if you wish to be active in its cessation.
It is important to understand that being active and knowledgeable affects your overall bargaining strength.
Together, we can forge a more militant NALC.
Good morning, letter carriers, and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier, with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today, I'm going to start off by announcing that I'm going to be having another question and answer next month, this time with presidential candidate Mike Cariff, and it will take my usual template. From now until September 1st, you may submit questions to both the Parcels of Knowledge Facebook page and my personal email, rosevillewreckingball@yahoo.com. He will answer any questions you submit, and I'll be asking every one of them, so feel free to send in the questions. I have a dedication for making known any candidate running because it provides election integrity. To let the membership understand exactly all people who are running and what they stand for provides a healthy election. If you are a candidate running and would like to be on the show, please contact me and we will talk. One other thing before I get into the juicy stuff. I'm going to be putting a poll on my Spotify and Facebook about whether or not you guys might be interested in me doing an episode about my grievance tracking system and how you guys can use it as well. So hopefully you guys can head on down there and let me know. I think it's mostly going to be interest by stewards if there is any interest at all. So let me know, please. Alright. So I have recently had a conversation with a great union steward from another state. After we were done, I was left shocked at how different his branch operated. I'm not going to give away names because they would rather not be named, but they came from a relatively large branch, and they mentioned a few things that I just can't wrap my head around. Number one, it seemed like they were doing things like amateurs. For example, one of the things was still writing their settlements at Formal A handwritten in the 8190 box, even though there really isn't enough room in the box to contain a healthy settlement. There's really not enough room there. A lot of people's handwriting can't be read. Most branches, especially big ones, find much pride in using their own hand-developed forms. And branch-developed forms can give way for specialized needs the same way that our LMOUs do. And it makes no sense for a branch that has a lot of resources not to use a separate settlement form. Normally you would just put C attached in the box. Additionally, using the 8190 gives ways for management to use arguments to dismiss it if the steward didn't fill it out completely, such as them trying to say that the 8190 flaws make the settlement procedurally deficient. The settlement doesn't have to be attached to the 8190 when used for reference. The settlement should contain all information needed so as to minimize other citations. I think it's best we separate the 8190 from the settlement, and it just looks a lot more professional anyway. Secondly, here's something wacky. They also said that their branch doesn't have the informal A's assign the case numbers. That on its own, just fine. Until I realized what they meant was the informal A settlements that they've been signing do not have a case number at all, as far as he understands. The 8190 is a controlling document for grievances. It's a PS form, and it comes with instructions like all PS forms. In box 9 of the 8190, it calls for entering the NALC grievance number. Box 9 is located in the informal A section to fill out. A branch should either let the informal A keep a log of their grievances installation-wide and send the number up to the branch, or allow communication of assigning a number for every grievance prior to meeting. The first option is always the best option because it involves a lot less unnecessary communication. How can you possibly cite something without it having a case number? This is a prime example of one of the flaws management could point out when trying to claim that a settlement isn't valid, since the 8190 wasn't filled out properly. One last strange thing I heard from them. Their branch agreed with management that they can only ask for union time in short and small blocks of time, not things such as full shifts. Since when are we ever making management's life easier at the expense of the grievance procedure? No branch should be meddling in the business of prohibiting the scheduling of steward time in any way, shape, or form unless they are the ones paying the steward. That's on management. If you're on the services clock, that's on management, which you should be on the services clock because they have it right in our contract that we should be. If I were them, I would simply tell my union officer that I do not give a shit what you say. Management makes the schedule. I request the steward time as the steward. Management schedules the time to be had. If management decides to give it to me in 30-minute windows, or 1-hour windows, or 8-hour windows, they better give me my full amount, and if they don't, I'm going to take however much time off the clock and file to be paid for that time. The union doesn't make the schedule for steward time. Management does. Opening that door gives way for management to use some shitty excuses in an attempt to shake the blame for their own failures. And some arbitrators love buying shitty excuses from management. This is negligent on the branch's part. Some branches have forgotten their purpose, and they need to be reminded. I would like to attempt to talk about branches who have lost their way and how to navigate around them. I will start this episode with one guiding principle to keep in mind. There is no progress without struggle. Attempting to make changes for the better will never be a comfortable thing, so you will need to have the right head on your shoulder. You have two choices. Pull yourselves by the bootstraps and head into the rain, and come out the other side to find your branch better than when you found it. Or, never changing for the better and continuing to deal with the issues that bother you, letting them fester into something worse. To begin, whether you're a member or you're just a steward, just know that there are challenges along the way to navigate in order to really generate some real change. You have to get yourself ready to make that leap. Just look at two shining examples right before our eyes. We have Alan Gigax and the gang in Las Vegas having to be blackballed and run against their president in order to make real meaningful change. They're just two guys that want to be stewards as well, and they can't be. We also have James Henry and Christopher Jackson, who both spoke up against issues and got penalized for it. I have even been harmed trying to stand up to people who were in the wrong in my last union. I got lucky with my current branch. The one thing I would advise before just dedicating any energy into change is that you need to make sure you have a network of support for the change you are trying to take into effect in your installation. Because if it's something the will of the membership is against, it certainly will not happen, as it should not happen. Alright, so starting off with specializing in steward duties and tools to help protect yourself as a steward against a branch who is working against your best interest. And then I will go into advice for members and how they can help with making a change, even unrelated to the grievance procedure. Stewards, you must do what you can to give your members the best representation possible. To my friend, my good friend who told me that they are having a hard time getting time and the branch is making it harder, there are ways to approach this and tools you can use. Any steward who is having a hard time getting to file grievances on management's time needs to first ensure that they're using the proper form to request time. Your branch may have a form, but if they don't, then use your own. Steward time requests need not be in writing, but I highly suggest that they should be. I will post an example of mine on the Parcels of Knowledge Facebook. Some of you might recognize parts of it because I Frankensteined the best parts of the ones I liked. If you take up the task of making your own, I suggest on the form you give management a date in which you want to have this time. I always put the day that I turn in the request, and that is because of M document 127. In that document, it states that if management must delay a steward from processing a grievance, that they have to let you know when you will be able to have that time. By telling management, I want the time today, I am giving them the expectation that if I do not receive it today, most of the time you won't, like when I put in a request, I ask for maybe 32 hours by a certain date. So obviously I'm not getting that today. Most of the time you don't even get any of it today because it's the first time they're hearing it. But if you don't get it today, then you must let me know when I will be having it by responding to my request. This approach keeps the steward time professional. If they do not respond same day, I file a grievance for a violation of M127, and then the next day, I request the time again. Over and over, you must request it every day because it makes for a better case file if you don't end up receiving it. Obviously, if you don't end up receiving it, you do that time in the 11th hour. Once they can't give it to you, do it off the clock and file a grievance and get paid. That's the appropriate remedy. Every time they don't let you know when you'll be getting the time that day, I would file a grievance for violation of M document 127 via Article 19. It annoys them until you can get it. It also trains them to take union issues seriously. They normally don't see it as a business obligation, even though they literally have a contract signed with us. If your branch is coming over and agreeing to dumb shit like, yeah, I think 1 hour at a time is plenty enough for the steward, your branch is a sellout and doesn't know how to be an effective contract enforcement unit. Getting management to put you on steward time instead of carrying your route is an effective violation deterrent on its own, let alone all the other things that could come with it, like violations of M127. Tell your management team you do not care what the branch says, that scheduling steward time is completely up to the management. So long as you receive all the time you need, that is fine. Also, most stewards won't really know exactly how much time to request. Since they aren't doing a lot of different types of cases, they're not going to know exactly how long it will take. Always aim high with your requests. If you request 8 hours for some cases that end up somehow being completed in 6, then you can just use that time to develop them better. We have every right to develop a case to our satisfaction, and most of the time, stewards do not use this for their own benefit. It is us who gets to define when a file is complete, and management must give us all the time we need to complete the file. So long as you properly request it, keep a copy of your steward time requests, and if management doesn't sign them, consider sending a copy to your supervisor via email to prove that you gave it to them. By the way, this time you take every day to turn in the same request because they never responded as to when your time will be available, it should be part of your office time. M Document 605 talks about steward time that is weekly occurring or more should be factored into your office time. This certainly should include time you have to use to submit time and information requests. Now, if your branch is backwards and doesn't have forms such as settlement forms, make your own. When I went to my branch, they had their own forms. They were just using nationals mostly, but they had their own forms. And I said, hey, I need more specialized forms. Can I get you guys to make a form for the branch? And they were like, okay, we already are. But they never ended up doing it. So I ended up asking my president, hey, do I got permission to just make my own since I came to you first? And they said, yeah, until we make our own. But they haven't made their own yet. So I did make my own maybe like 2 years ago. And I've been using them ever since. Certainly, you should be the example and show your branch how professional your forms can look. So hopefully they can strive to be more like you. Like I have said above, settlements should not be brief. They can be in certain situations, but in most situations, the more you say about the situation, the better. I would recommend, at the very least, have the issue statement, the entire remedy, case file number, name of the designees signing it, and incident date on it. Those are all things that could become very relevant when trying to cite a particular settlement. If your branch doesn't like it, then tell them why it's a good idea. And if they don't make one, then you must make one to help your contract enforcement. A lot of branches forget their true purpose, which is to be led by the membership in the protection of the membership's rights. They are the subordinates to the membership. The membership is the final say and most important part of every one of their decisions. They get built up with an ego and start to think this is a company with branch presidents as the CEO. There is no distance between us and our agent. They shall work for us. And this brings me to my next segment. Members, please realize your power in the situation of navigating your branch's roadblocks. Just like the membership at the National Convention, the membership at a meeting is the final say, not the president. Make sure you're showing up to your meetings. They're very important. And a disagreement with the president at a membership meeting is simply the membership correcting the president's direction of our own ship. They are not the captain, we are. They are the vessel. Support those stewards who are doing all they can to provide you top-notch representation, because at the end of the day, they face a reality that they could be blackballed, especially if you let this happen. They can be stripped of their duties as your steward and become an example for those branches who do not like dissent. But this is only if you let them. Just like with management. A member can make a motion at any meeting for anything. It may take different shapes and forms based on the branch's bylaws, but for the most part, anything you need done, you can make a motion for so long as you have the support from those attending the meeting. I recommend you get familiar with your bylaws of your branch. You can find them on the Department of Labor website. I will post a link on my Parcels of Knowledge Facebook for the search query for the Department of Labor website. There, in your bylaws, there will be a playbook for how you can enact change. Like, for example, all the bylaws should have a bylaw about how do you amend bylaws or create bylaws. Here's a real-life example. I had a conversation with my good friend, Rick Rock. Shout out to Rick Rock and his podcast, The Comfort Stop, by the way. Rick has an issue at his branch. Somebody wants transparency in the grievances that the branch settles. They have no idea what grievances are being filed, settled, and what the resolutions are. Would like a little insight on a regular basis. Man, that's something I would love everybody to have. Every branch should be very proud of the grievances that they're filing, and they should always let the membership know what they're doing. Rick's branch is a prime example of a branch I'm talking about that has lost their ways if they ever knew their way. They came up with lame excuses about how it would shine light on personal information such as names and such. They have no publication. That's where I normally post my quarterly update. But they do have a union board, like we all should, as the national agreement talks about. Anyway, how I would solve this as a rank and file member, I would look at the bylaws and figure out how a member can make a bylaw change. Usually it requires a certain amount of signatures and a vote. I would then follow the procedure to make a bylaw change and ask for support in my installation or branch about this issue. We know the issue is wanted because somebody already brought it up in a meeting. Now we know who to talk to, and we can find others who support the idea. Get all people on board with the bylaw change and ask that they attend the meeting where the vote will occur. At that meeting, propose that the branch posts a list of settlements each month, and to avoid their argument that they posed, ask that it be a log that would provide the grievance number, article of violation, and a short description of the remedy. This should be completely doable on any branch's resources, and as long as the will of the membership backs it, it will pass. Another thing members should change is this appointed steward shit. There is no argument that makes sense whatsoever when it comes to appointed versus elected stewards. Any sane membership would want their voices to be heard and their stewards to be elected. The LMRDA mandates various reporting requirements and establishes the democratic procedures for the internal union governments. A crucial distinction exists within the LMRDA's framework. While it explicitly mandates democratic union officer elections, the Act remains silent regarding the specific method for selecting stewards. This regulatory allowance means that the choice between appointment and election for stewards is largely left to the discretion of individual unions and their bylaws. Elected stewards are directly accountable to the workers they represent. If they don't perform, members can vote them out in the next election. Elections ensure that stewards are chosen by the people whose issues they will address. This fosters a sense of ownership and trust among the members, but most importantly, and the thing that bad branches hate the most, elected stewards have a greater degree of independence. They are less likely to be pressured by union leadership to toe a particular line if it conflicts with the members' interests, as their position doesn't depend on leadership's favor. This independence is critical when stewards need to challenge union leadership decisions or push back aggressively against management. Branches who still have appointed stewards, please consider drafting a bylaw for changing that to elected stewards. I don't know why anyone would want to shut their own voice out. If you need help, you can always reach out to me. I can help you draft one myself. I've done it before and I'll do it again. This is how we take power in our branches. We work together to enact change. And don't forget to always have the backs of the people around you who will pay for having a voice of dissent. For example, if your president strips the steward of their duties because they decided to ask for more steward time, or to make their own forms because this branch had none, or because they wanted to change the way the branch numbered informal A's, then you can get together with your fellow carriers and in the next branch meeting make a motion to reinstate the steward and force your president to appoint him. This is a matter of bringing a good case file to the rank and file members to show everything you're doing that's right and everything the branch is doing to hold you down. If it's not a bylaw change, it can be done with a motion. You just have to read the order of business and put the motion in the right order of business. One last tool that could be used on stubborn officers that abuse their authority and forget that the membership is their boss is Article 10 of the Constitution. Article 10 charges can be brought against any elected officer of the branch for neglect of duty and other issues. The process is a little flawed and can sometimes result in an unfavorable outcome, as we saw with the Article 10 charges that were brought up against Renfro, but it does help either way, and it sends a very clear message that we see you do not serve the members' interests. We will not tolerate your wrongdoing, and if you continue on this path, you will soon be unseated, as they should be. Any officer of the union who does not put their members first does not deserve the privilege of their position. I need to make sure you guys know there is no progress without struggle. Those who are serving as a steward know the ultimate goal should be to kick down the doors, pull out the nails, and dismantle any safe space that those with the indignity have the nerve to hide in. There is no better time than now to build a more militant union. Do not let your own comforts deter you from being the best safeguard for your membership. Many of the actions we can be taking to make things better will always result in headaches, setbacks, and issues for a temporary amount of time. We don't grow in comfort. We all grow in rain. I know you have the will to make great things happen, and I'm proud of all the great things letter carriers have done in the past to move themselves forward. And I will be right there with you if you ever need any advice on how to make a change for the better in your own branch or installation. Please feel free to reach out to me. Your outreach will never fall on deaf ears with me. And I got a message for those branches that are failing in the shittiest of ways. Listen here, branch presidents and other elected officers. If you aren't serving in a way that best suits your membership's best interests, your time is coming. All officers who are in it for themselves deserve to fall flat on their faces. You make a bad name for us, and you are a roadblock for your membership to grow in solidarity. If you have forgotten your purpose, we will be here to remind you. we will be building a militant NALC, and there is no room for selfishness and dishonor in it. Do your job. Do it well. And if you can't, then move aside for someone who would. Do not be lazy, don't be selfish, and listen to your members. If you do not, then I hope those you serve under will make sure this will be your last term. I hope you learned something valuable today. And as always, have a good day.
Brothers and sisters, this guy is good, man. He's fucking good.
And my boy Joshua, he killed it. Man, he's lockstep right now. He's killing it.
You would think this guy has been around for 30 fucking years. That's how good he is. Yeah, it's like he won the contract.